Uh-oh.
Talking a lot on social media.
Have I?
You have.
You have?
No, you have. Okay. But keep that energy fighting.
Me too.
I will. I always.
Good.
I always. So your fans cannot fight for you.
I know.
They cannot fight for you. Daddy can't fight for you either.
I know. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's always. Remember that.
I will. You remember it too?
I'm a remember. Something more than that left hook.
It's a right hook, but yeah.
The right hook, the left hook don't matter. It ain't gonna connect.
You'll see.
It will see.
Very good.
Thank you, too. Goodbye.
So it would appear that America's own Tiaria Brown has already touched down in Australia to acclimatize herself to the difference in time zones, and she had this and that to say to Sky Nicolson that Sky's been talking a lot online, when in reality, Tiara's been doing most of the talking. Literally. If not for Tiaria Brown's constant call-outs of Sky Nicolson, I don't think Sky would even know who the woman is. I don't think she'd be on Sky's radar, and the only reason she's here now is because she finally started fighting in the necessary eliminators to become Sky's mandatory. Claiming that not only did I smell fear on Sky, I could see it. That's why she kept her sunglasses on. Her bottom lip was going. She's a coward. Her confidence is fake, and she's scared. To which Sky Nicolson replied online, I've heard it all before. I think she's gonna be rudely shocked when it gets to round 2 or 3, and she can't hit me, and I'm smiling at her. So most of Sky Nicholson's fights seem to go. That's how I anticipate this one is going to go, because I saw Tiaria Brown's last fight with Calista Salgado, who's a shorter, stumpier, stockier fighter than Sky Nicolson, more stationary, doesn't move anywhere near as much. She was right there to be hit, and in spite of all of that, Tiaria Brown didn't stop her. She didn't knock her out. So if you can't knock out a stationary target, how are you gonna knock out a moving target? Oh, indeed. Tiara claims that Sky's confidence is fake. I think her animosity is fake. I think it's staged. I think she's doing her best to psych herself into this, and she's just looking for something to say. When she said that Sky Nicholson's been doing a lot of talking online, no, she hasn't. She literally hasn't. And if not for you badgering her, she literally wouldn't know who you are. She said that Sky Nicholson's left hook isn't going to land. Left hook? Sky's a southpaw. Did you mean the right hook? That's what I mean. She was just looking for something to say, now that she's in Australia and they're face-to-face. Some people eat up that kind of trash talk, irrespective of whether it makes sense or not. It's particularly popular in the American market. Americans do love a good trash talker, but the whole thing about trash talk is you have to be able to back it up, and I don't think Tiara Brown is going to. It all sounds good ahead of the fight, and it adds to the spice. You know, that seems to be the current theme. Americans flying out to Australia. A little over a week ago, it was Keith Thurman for the Brock Jarvis fight. This week, it's Tiara Brown for the Sky Nicholson fight. In a little over a week's time, it's going to be Joey Spencer for the Tim Kazoo fight. Signs of growth in the Australian market that these American fighters had to go there for an opportunity, which accents what I'm always telling you, that Australian boxing is bigger now than it ever was in previous eras of boxing. It's a booming market that is growing. Though as it pertains to this fight, I don't think it's going to be the American that has their hand raised this weekend. No, sir. Put simply, I think she's too slow. She's too flat-footed. Even if she's a stronger puncher than Sky, power only counts as much as your ability to land, and I don't think she's going to be able to. I think Sky's going to move and punch, pot shot from the outside, the way she always does, and maybe Tiara Brown can make her a bit more uncomfortable than her previous opponents. Maybe. But I don't see her winning this thing. I don't. I think Sky's gonna coast to a points decision win. Afterwards, Tiara's gonna complain that she was running. She wouldn't stay in one spot. But you knew what the assignment was before you got there. You knew who you were fighting. In men's lightweight news, all systems appear to be a go for the Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach rematch set to go down in the not-so-distant future. Can Gervonta Davis finish the job? Can he do better the second time out? You guys already know what I think. You shouldn't need 2 fights to beat Lamont Roach once. Jamel Herring didn't. If Gervonta were half the fighter that his fans make him out to be, we wouldn't be here now. And that's the reality of it, as far as I'm concerned. Brian Norman Sr. He chimed in on this upcoming rematch. He had this to say.
Thing what people hate about me, I don't think that Tank is a mentally strong person. Well, ain't no Tank. I know he ain't. I know Tank not a mentally strong person. I watched Tank quit.
So do you...
I know stories. Listen to me, and I can say this because I ain't even got no fucking. I don't have no allegiance to them. My son was signed shortly with 2 guys. Before he got with the manager that he with now, he had a brief stint with 2 guys that started Tank off. They were his managers. They used to tell us stories about his ass. Tank ain't got it, bro. They don't have the heart. He's not built like that. He's not. He's not. They was telling us stories, all kind of shit. They was like, bro, we'll pull up. We'll pull up to a gym. They said he's going to spar somebody. The guy's supposed to be dangerous. Or they were going around, they would take them around sparring and shit. They was like, they'll take him to a gym. They'll take him in there. Tank be say shit like, all right, y'all keep the car running. Because this motherfucker get it says, I'm going to hit his ass, so I'm going to run out this bit. They just tell little stories and shit. They tell you everything you need to know. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, he not built like that. And I watched him quit. I watched him quit with no reason. I keep telling people, go look it up. After February the 3rd, he had a fight. This is before he fought Barrios, I believe. I can't remember who it was. He fought somebody around February, March 2021. He faked the injury. Again, let me shut up because I said my son, I don't think my son don't want to do all that, so I'm going to shut up. But he ain't built like that. He not built like that. I know for a fact he not.
Brian Norman is singing a familiar tune, not dissimilar from the one that Paulie Malignaggi was singing last week when he said that while Gervonta Davis may be physically strong, he's mentally weak, and that's where the lame excuses come from. He says it was because of hair grease, as if that's supposed to make it better. Oscar Valdez fought with a broken jaw. He knew he fought with a fractured orbital bone. The gashes that we saw atop Badu Jack's forehead, Artur Betterbeef's forehead. Remember? More recently, Tim Kazoo. Those guys had blood in their eye. Not hair products, not hair gel or grease. Kinda sissy-ass excuse is that for taking a knee in the middle of the round, in the middle of the fight? Hair grease is not the reason he took a knee. He took a knee because he was frustrated and he didn't know what else to do. Lamont Roach proved to be a stiffer test than Gervonta and his team initially anticipated, and mentally, he was cracking.
Tank doesn't happen for some reason, knock on wood for y'all. Who would you want to fight next, or what would be the next contender, whether it be at 135 or at 130?
So if it's at 135, obviously it's going to be a champ. You got Shakur Stevenson, you got Keyshawn Davis, and Lomachenko if he not retired. We already talked to Shakur, and that we like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like he on board. So
when he on board, what do you mean?
Like I talked to him like personally, like me and him, and he was like, we can run it. If he not gonna give you the fight, even before the fight, he was like, after you win, we can unify. I was like, for sure.
That would be a nightmare scenario. If this rematch were to fall apart, not happen for any reason, then Lamont goes in there with another guy and loses. Especially if that guy's Shakur. We know that triangle theories don't work, but we also know that casuals... With the casuals, it's all about the optics. It's all about how it looks, and how it would look if Gervonta went life or death with this guy, couldn't beat him. Then Shakur goes in there and beats him easy.
What would people say?
Would seem that Lamont Roach ruined Gervonta Davis's plans to set something up with Jake Paul. Apparently, Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul was 100% in negotiations to be next if he would have won that fight against Lamont, according to veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael.
I knew it. I knew that's what they were going to do.
That's why Jake Paul posted that video of himself beating up on a Gervonta Davis cardboard cutout. That's why he needs to have this rematch. He's not at liberty to move on and maintain his same air of invincibility if he doesn't settle this first. And according to Dan, that's what they're about to do.
I don't think there's any question about that. I've talked to the camps, and they're working towards getting that done. Probably going to be in June. And, they're going to do that fight again. It makes sense. It was a draw. The fight did well in terms of, they broke the record for the gate at Barclays Center when they did or I take that back. They were second all time in terms of the gate. They were slightly behind Rolling Stones concert in terms of number of people, in terms of attendance. They broke the record for that building, which has been open for about 12 years or 14 years, something like that. So from that perspective, in terms of economically, it's going to be even bigger than the first fight. I have followed Lamont Roach's career from day one. I've been at many, many of his fights. I know him and the dad. I knew this was going to be a real fight. That's not to say I was picking him to win, but it did not surprise me one iota that he gave the kind of competition to Tank that he did. And I would imagine that whatever happens in the rematch will be similar. So, yeah, I think the fight's going to happen in the summer. I think it's going to be a much bigger fight than the first one, and I am very much looking forward to seeing them do it again and to see Tank not take a timeout in the middle of a round and take a knee after he gets hit with a jab and the referee roll over like a dog and allow it.
So what we're talking about is a mentally weak fighter who's always been a mentally weak fighter behind the scenes, according to Brian Norman and some others.
He's always been that way, and it's just now coming out, going into a rematch situation with a fighter that he couldn't adjust to.
We know that in the rematch, the deck is going to be stacked against Lamont Roach. That unless he knocks Gervonta Davis out, there's not much chance of him winning a decision. Look at the lengths that they went to already.
He takes a knee, they don't count it as a knockdown.
He turns his back on his opponent, which in some instances warrants a disqualification, runs to his corner in the middle of the round. They don't do nothing about that either.
In real time, the New York State Athletic Commission, fully aware of the situation days after it, they don't do anything about it either. They have to bend the rules this much.
Because he's not who they say he is. And if the plan was to go straight into a Jake Paul circus fight after the Lamont Roach fight, what I think is the saving grace is that might actually herald his retirement. That whatever money he makes from a Jake Paul fight, if he beats Lamont in the rematch, that'll be enough that he goes away.
Retire.
And that's what I'm waiting for. I said for years, he's never gonna fight Vasyl Lomachenko, or Teofimo, or Devin, or Shakur, now Keyshawn, none of them.
So the best thing that he can do for me is go away and retire.
If at 30 years old, you already want to participate in these circus fights and these novelty acts, go right on ahead.
Go away and leave the real boxing to the real boxers.
Sayonara.
There's so much sparring here in Southern California that I don't think ring rust will be a problem with him. He's always in the gym. They're with Freddie Roach at Wildcard. Sparring is always insane, just like it is here in my gym. So fighters' inactivity doesn't really affect. No, obviously, if we were talking about 2+ years, then we're talking about a difference. But a year or so, I don't think it'll be a problem. I think Stanionis is going to be a problem for Boots Ennis. It's going to be a great fight. Boots Ennis is my favorite in this case, but not by very far. It's a very, very close fight.
So, Robert, you see what I see. I mean, you've been studying Stanionis for a while now. Obviously, your guy Virgil and him were supposed to fight multiple times. That fight seemed to be snake bitten. So you're seeing the things that I was seeing about Stanionis.
No, definitely. Look, we've shared sparring partners. We've been with them. During training camps for sparring and stuff like that. And this guy trains. This guy's always in shape. This guy's never. You're never gonna find him out of shape. It doesn't matter if he hasn't fought in almost a year. He's always in shape. So I don't think that would be a problem. That's why I think this fight is a fight that this year is one of the best fights, even though maybe doesn't get the same attention because Boots is still not that superstar worldwide, or at least here in the United States, and Stanionis isn't either. But us in boxing,
Veteran trainer Robert Garcia and veteran fighter former champion Chris Algieri anticipate that Stanionis is up for this, and even though it's been a while since he last fought, he hasn't skipped a beat, he stays in the gym, he stays ready, and him versus Boots is going to be a great fight.
I hope so, but I don't necessarily agree with Robert's evaluation, and I don't presume to be an expert. I just know what I saw in Stanionis' last fight, which took place in May of last year opposite the ring Gabriel Maestre.
He looked rusty in that fight. He didn't look as sharp in the Maestre fight as he did in the Radzov-Butayev fight some time before that. And going into the Gabriel Maestre fight, he had been out for about a year. So you can say that he stays in the gym and he stays in shape, he stays ready, but I know what I saw.
That was ring rust.
And that was against Gabriel Maestre. How is he going to look opposite the ring a better fighter in Jaron Ennis? As it pertains to the fight with Jaron Ennis, Stanionis himself had this to say.
I don't care, honestly, like any sparring he can bring, I don't know, gorilla and spar with the gorilla, it's like, doesn't matter. I'm doing my job, he's doing my job, and April 12th, we'll see who's going to come on top and who did the best in the training camp and who has better skills. That's it.
And it all sounds good. I admire Stanionis' confidence. He seems to be backing himself, and some seem to be backing him, that he will put forward a good performance. But one thing you want to keep in mind about this fight that's different from any Jaron Ennis fight in recent memory is that there won't be a weight cap. There won't be a rehydration cap. We know that the IBF has a customary rehydration cap they use for all of their title fights and eliminators. And the only time they waive it is if there's more than one alphabet title on the line. In this fight, there's more than one alphabet title on the line, which means Boots won't be subject to that weight cap.
And we may end up seeing a more energized Jaron Ennis as a result of that.
A Jaron Ennis who isn't coming off of 11 months of inactivity like Stanionis. Stanionis is a characteristically aggressive fighter, a busy fighter, a mid-range to inside fighter. Getting there will be difficult against Jaron Ennis, who we all know likes to make himself a moving target to create a bit of space to get the counters off.
Like what he did in the Roman Villa fight and the David Evanesian fight.
He's a boxer-puncher, and trying to put pressure on a boxer-puncher usually isn't a good idea, least of all when you've been out for a good amount of time. So I have Boots winning the fight.
I only wonder if he wins it by way of knockout.
Stylistically, I think Stanionis is made to order for Jaron Ennis. He plays into Jaron Ennis' strengths, and it should be a good fight for however long it lasts. The fact that he won't be subject to that weight cap should he become unified welterweight champion buys him a bit more time in this division, because people were starting to wonder how much longer can Jaron Ennis make 147 healthy. If he's not subject to a rehydration cap anymore, it buys him a little bit more time to pick up those other two alphabet titles.
So we'll see how he makes out. It's a great fight.